I'd like to give thanks to the ancestors, the Creator, for us all being in existence, allowing ourselves to express our uniqueness in the world around us, expressing from within out. Today, hopefully we can go through some interesting topics in relation to martial arts more so, and this discipline aspect, because we spent a lot of time in Qigong talking about cultivating the spirit a little bit. But I think we're okay, you know, Haru.
You sure?
Yeah.
Let me see something here. 1 sec. Go on, keep talking.
Yeah, so hopefully today, my plan is that we discuss a little bit martial arts, and we also go through the history of martial arts, because I don't think I've had the opportunity to discuss the African connection to martial arts, its origin, and then the various divisions as time's gone on. We haven't gone into that stuff there. And I suppose there are many of us out there that look at martial arts, Qigong practices, and these internal arts as curated and set up. And it's exclusive to Chinese people, Indian people, and other nations. And we don't do those things there. We just do rituals, killing chickens or something.
Mm.
But we are a little bit, but this art form is coming from a source which originates from us. So at some state, in a moment, when Haru is ready, I think we're going to get into that stuff there, a little bit of history, and then after that, then we're going to go through a description of a meditation, a standing meditation that we can do in our practice at home, or incorporating a clarity of position, how we're going to stand, how we're going to breathe, and what we're going to visualize. So at some stage as well later on, I think that'd be probably nearer to the middle end, that we're going to get an opportunity to go through that. But I would like to start off with really the history and how that developed.
Yeah, that's fine. You can always have information. Can't have too much information. And that's good, because once you can account for the whys and the wherefores of things in your mind, then you can, the elucidation will be much easier to do. It would be much easier to do and much easier to achieve if you're clear on certain historical aspects of things, strategy, where you are in terms of times. So the history of I've seen them in the pyramids. I've seen movements in some of the pyramids of Egypt. Pictures of them. I haven't been there myself, but I'm going to be going soon. And so I just want to introduce the guest in the studio alongside Sahu. So I'll leave Sahu, brother Sahu, to do that. Introduce him.
I'm Eshe. What's that to say?
Say hello, innit? There's nothing else to say other than hello. What else are you going to say?
Great Rising.
I'm not your
Okay, Great
device.
Rising Genesis. This is a Kamtat.
Yeah, so you're used to them already. They've been here. They actually do take part in the Qigong and exercises, and so they just like to come along and hear what's new. And we've covered whole heap of ground last week, and actually I've listened to the recording. It was a bit noisy. I think I was fanning something there because I hear the tapping in the background.
The beating.
Yeah, the beating. Yeah, I need to behave myself on that one. It's not as hot today anyway, so a little less repressive. But I do understand it's going to be hot today. You reckon?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I say. Going to have a mini heat wave. It
Yeah.
doesn't feel like it outside, but I brought my coat anyway, so I don't trust English weather. I learned my lessons so well. So we're in the scheme of things. We need to have strategy. And one of the greatest strategy you can ever have, if your children can get involved from a youngest age in these physical exercise. I mean, me, yeah, because I've got it all up in the intellect and very little down on the physicality. It's all bunged up there in the intellect, and we rely heavily on intellectual prowess. So we now need to control the intellect, and by allowing ourselves to be able to shut down some of the dependency on the intellect. So we don't only have an intellectual appreciation of things, but we can have a more ideological plus spiritual, mental aspect. So, as you were saying about the history, is there a date for Qigong? Is there a date for the beginning and commencement of Qigong? When did Qigong start? Is there a date? It's about the history. How far back?
Yeah, that's me.
How far back do we actually go in terms of understanding the purpose of Qigong? A lot of us are wanting to lose weight as well. I want to be, like myself. But eating wrong, if you're eating wrong and if you're not doing enough exercises, then how are you ever going to be in a position to affect any change at all? There's got to be discipline.
Mm-hmm.
So the history of that, how far back do you reckon we can go to find the beginnings? And why was it called Tai Chi? It's like a Chinese thing, isn't it? I'm wondering, is their original name or something? Tai Chi, and Chinese. I'm sure it didn't begin with Chinese, but I've seen relics of it in Egypt. So is there?
She's gonna explain Tai Chi, and I'm gonna go into the history.
Yeah. What is the? So people can get a full meaning of what
Tai Chi is.
Tai Chi is. Yeah. What is Tai Chi?
What is it?
And why is it called Tai Chi?
Okay. Tai Chi to me is an internal cultivation. It's an art form, not just in the way you look and the way you perform it, but the way you apply it into your life. It helps to deal with your spiritual development as well as your emotional and your mental development. In terms of, it works with you being able to control your energy, how you release it, and when you choose to release it. And Tai Chi means supreme, ultimate.
So, really, that alone, explanation alone, will take us into the inability of some children, young folks, as you said. If it trains you to be in control of emotion, that's a good thing, isn't it? Because then all of the emotionalism that we see today in our youth, unable to think twice before their actions, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because it's not that it makes you emotionless, but it makes you more aware of your surroundings. So you're not emotionally involved. You can see what's going on. You're able to assess it. Your eyes aren't clouded, basically. So you are able to assess the situation and able to find the solution before you even go into that emotional state or just a reaction.
Yeah, reaction. So it helps you just to, and that's one of the things that is implicit in the discipline, the arts of Africa, how to control our emotions. Because Africans are always known, and I think one of the weakness to be good. It's a weakness, and because we're so good, that's why they come in and took our land and all that. And I hate listening to that crap. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So what they're trying to say is to become barbarian.
That's right.
They're trying to encourage us to become when we naturally, because of the training, not because we were born fully loaded to be, and we are, black people are I'd say they are sort of loving, you know what I mean? When you go to their country, you welcome you with open arms, you know what I mean? It's always loads of report. Now, how did they get that way? I think it's something to do with what we're speaking about here. They trained themselves to become better people towards their behaviour towards situations. And if a war came up, wouldn't the war be the last resort? You see, so this emotional training, war and physical defense would be the last resort, not the first resort.
No, it wouldn't necessarily be, because your first mine is going to be to try and reduce whatever situation is there. How are you going to handle it and get it under control? Exactly. Even though I understand that there's sometimes, no matter what you do to reduce it, it can escalate.
Okay, you've got to be prepared for that as well.
Exactly. However, it should put you in a mindset where even after the situation, you should be able to analyze your own behavior to see where you have gone wrong. As much as you may believe you did nothing wrong, there's ways that we can always improve on how we diffuse or how we improve a situation. And I think with Tai Chi as well, it develops your willpower. And I think without willpower, you're easily controlled, because people can just say, do this, do that, and you go ahead without even saying no. And even if you say no, they can easily convince you.
Right, so
I think it really develops your willpower in that.
Yeah, because if you're in a situation of a bully, for instance, and there's a lot of bullying going on at school as well, you know, people and children don't come on. I remember I went through that bout of bullying. I didn't tell my parents. So if you can say no in some of the drugs situations as well, I mean, you got people, the bullies and the gangs that are in there now, we want to get you to be a donkey, like, you know what I mean? To get you to take the drugs, and because of your personality, they might look at you and think you're soft, and they always go for the soft ones. You see what I'm saying to you? The quiet ones, the ones that look vulnerable.
Yeah, but it's not necessarily just saying no. It's understanding that to remove yourself from the situation, it's best not to be in that place in the first place. And if you recognize that in that area, that's what's happening, and you remove yourself from there, whether that means taking part in other activities, or I'd say go straight home or take a different route, something, but you need to be able to reduce the ability of them coming to you and offering that.
That's the first thing, you need to have that resistance.
Yeah. Is that a resistance? It's not resistance.
Ability to say.
That's just awareness, observation.
Yeah, but once you're aware, and if you're not doing an evasive action, you're still probably get involved. You know what I mean? The mere fact that you looked at it in the first place like that is an achievement.
That was damn right.
You know, because some people just go down the pan through fear. It locks them off. So once you feel fear at a young age, you're able to deal with it. That's what Tai Chi does. Prepares you.
Yeah, it makes you fearless, man. It makes you fearless.
Is that a good thing?
In general, does that? It's a good thing, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be fearless.
Yes.
You never think.
Why, you rather be a coward?
No, not really. But
no, I'm not saying you.
I know. I'm saying sometimes fear.
But you know what?
It's there for a reason, right?
No.
Isn't it? Oh,
that's a trained concept.
Okay.
Yeah, fear, false evidence appearing real. Fear has its place, but it's not supposed to inhibit us. It's supposed to be an adrenaline response that causes us to step forward, not go backwards. That's the hero's quest.
But we are okay. This element of like, if you're confrontation and you run away, you know, people think, I ain't running from that. It's the fearless thing. But the saying says, I'm not encouraging people to run away, you know. He who runs away lives to fight another day. Now, where would that be in the scheme of things without thinking I'm a coward? If that's a strategy point.
Yeah, no, that would be a strategy for longevity. If you are fighting for a cause and you're fighting for something which is really important to you, you know, say you're prepared. And this is the difference between a warrior. And some people have to develop the warriorness in them. But that's the difference between a warrior. A warrior knows the extent of the scenario or the situation and prepared not to go home to the family if need be. And a person who isn't, they are susceptible now for other scenarios, because then they're more inclined to get hurt because they will act in a different way.
Yeah, but does the warrior at any point see if he's not going to go home?
He's not going to hopefully commit suicide, because that's not natural to
that's what I'm saying. You know, going to be like, because I remember in the Falklands War, there was this captain, a silly man. He just decided he was told not to charge the barracks. And he decided, he's going to go for glory. You know what I mean? It's the same fearless thing, you know. He thought, now's my time to pinch some glory.
Okay, that's different. That's ego.
And he led the people in.
That's different. Say if I'm in a situation and someone's come up to me and they're looking to take something from me, per se, right? Live to fight another day. Okay, you give them everything that you desire, and then you step forward. Fearless. You give them everything and you step forward. It ain't no different.
That's what I'm saying.
So, because a person who's fearless as a warrior knows this ain't no big thing anyway, and the stuff that I have that you desire ain't no big thing. They're not afraid. doesn't mean that they're gonna start slicing stuff up or start breaking man bones.
This is what I'm
You
saying.
understand what I'm saying? Just because you
what
know
I'm
how
trying
to do it,
This is what I'm trying
you're
to
not necessarily gonna do that.
between.
But you're not afraid of the
fearlessness.
moment. You're not gonna start wetting yourself or going through a fit
Or surrender.
Yeah, you're
straight
in.
off.
Yeah, no, you're still gonna use intelligence.
Yeah, so
See?
that's why I have to make the term clear. Fear,
Yeah, you still gonna use intelligence.
fearlessness, clear. It's not stupidness.
But you're not afraid though. So someone's come and done something to you, you're not afraid.
But listen, but you can still be afraid inside. You know. I mean, there are times when
No, in that moment, I'm aware of
let me
this.
tell you something. Yeah, but what I'm saying to you,
I know as a child how I feel, and I know as an adult how I feel, and they're two different
Yeah, but
things.
like for instance, if a bully, for instance, there, I used to fear them.
Yeah, but that's
right?
when you're at your immature
But,
stage.
Yeah, but even when I'm going to fight somebody bigger than me,
This is how long ago though?
No, but listen, if I'm even saying boxing,
Uh-huh.
if you're going to take an opponent on bigger than you, there is that element of fear comes up inside of
No,
you.
I don't
Like,
think-
or
I don't
is
think
it
it's fair.
adrenaline rush though? Or is that just adrenaline or what you call butterfly? It's not necessarily fear, but it's just a rush of adrenaline.
Anticipation for the events that are going to take place is natural. Fear, though, is not normal. You have to really understand that to be afraid of the outcome of a situation or a scenario which is going to inhibit you from stepping forward fully is not normal and is not healthy.
Yeah, but if it doesn't inhibit you, if you
of course it's going to inhibit you because fear creates certain releases of certain hormones in the body.
So it makes
So
you
it's-
Can't even think straight.
Yeah,
flee
man.
or fight. You know,
Oh,
it goes into your
that's
No, that's not fear, that's adrenaline.
No, what? Listen,
Run off or step forward is the adrenaline rush through your body which is causing you to make a choice. That's not because you're afraid, that's a natural biological response that's going to take place. Fear is coming from the mind. You've created a fear from a past experience and you're in that position that can cause you to freeze and you can act silly, do something mistaken because of your fear response.
well,
The lack of clearness of
yeah.
mind.
So when people experience fear, you know, like say fear of being arrested,
Yeah.
for instance. So if you
Mhm.
if you're not fear of going to jail, right?
Yeah.
If you say we've got to be gun ho about that and go to jail, in a sense that whereas we wouldn't have gone or done anything because of the fear of jail.
I think we're looking at it different.
That's what I'm saying to you.
I think we're looking at different. Let's say, for example, there are people who are not supposed to be, but they have a really good ability at a criminal lifestyle. And there are people who do not have a really high ability at a criminal lifestyle. Those people, from my observation, who are really good at what they do, which is we call criminal activity, they tend not to be afraid. And they make different choices to the one who is more concerned about the future, whatever it is, mum, dad, money, whatever clothing, whatever ego is driving their fear to step forward because they're seeing other stuff. They're the ones that likely to end up in prison more. The ones that don't end up in prison, who are criminals, are the ones who have this fearlessness. Because why? Because they are calmer in their thinking. Fear causes an acceleration of brain activity. Therefore, you don't think clearly.
Well,
Like, we want clarity of thought. Because we're talking about criminals now. Those criminals now who have clearness of thought.
well, what happens if somebody is going to come and do you something?
There's nothing wrong with adrenaline and blood rushing through
no,
your brain and your body.
Yeah, but
how do you respond to it is what's important.
No, but what I'm trying to show you is how the reptilian operates.
I'm clearly aware of that.
The reptilian operates on fear. That's why it's survival techniques. Once you fear, you're in danger. So it says, once it receives that signal, it prepares your body to fight or
think you're
flee.
I think it's
misinterpreting
different. I think
Eh?
it's different also.
Go
Can
on.
I say? I think the terms of sensing danger and fear is two different things. Because if you look in the animal kingdom, and for example, the sharks, I mean, look how large they are. And people say they are what's considered the killers, but they aren't. They actually never attack. They actually enjoy people looking at them. But what they do is when they've had enough, they show the underneath of their belly to say that's enough. But if you remain, regardless of their saying to you it's enough, then they sense that you may want to hurt them, danger. So they then go into attack mode. It's not necessarily that they are afraid, but they just go into protection. So fear and sensing danger is two different things. It's how you react to it.
Yeah, but it's a mediator that causes adrenaline to rush, to flow. I mean, adrenaline can't flow without a reason. You see what I'm saying? I mean, if I'm not going to start to secrete flow adrenaline,
But you
something's
can
going to beat
sense
me up.
something, not be afraid of it, and that will increase. That will cause the adrenaline to increase anyways because you're aware of it. But you don't necessarily have to be afraid of it.
Yeah, because you could be running for a train and knowing that the train is going to be at a certain time and you need to get to another place for a certain time and have a spike of adrenaline rush. Doesn't mean that you're afraid of your location, the destination. It's just because you have an anticipation of the possibility, and then you may not be able to make it. Adrenaline only stimulates when one requires a boost of energy, but what is hampered or which causes it to become unbalanced is what the mind thinks, because fear is associated to mind. Pain is a normal physiological response. How we
Yeah, but we fear pain, though. That's what we do.
you fear pain. We can't say we as in the whole.
Yeah.
I'm not really concerned about these things. That's why I'm trying to make it clear. Fear is just a mind state. You understand? It's a state of thinking. So let's say somebody sees a dog. We're walking down the street and there's 3 of us together, and one of them is not concerned of dogs because they raise up with dogs. The next person who's there don't really like dogs. You understand? Now, out of the 3, there's going to be one of them who's afraid then. And the one who don't really care is just going to, don't worry about that. Let's walk past.
And get bite.
Depending on how the person acts.
Yeah,
But that's not my experience.
Yeah, I know, but I'm only trying to play.
You're trying to stay on the side of a diseased mentality.
No, what I'm
but
trying
we
to
want
do-
to elevate out of disease.
I know, but we want to be wise at the same time. I would say if I'm going to train my children to be fearful of something, I would tell them to be fearful of going to jail.
No.
Be fearful of
Being
because
afraid of something.
That's not good.
Being always afraid of something means you're more likely to attract it to you, because you're sitting there, I don't want to go. Because you're focused on not going somewhere, you will attract that into your life where you end up in that place anyway. So it's not about being afraid of, it's about knowing how to avoid the situation and what to do in certain situations. It's not fearing the situation, because you never act right when you're afraid of something. You act in the opposite. That's going to create you to be in a different scenario than you want to be in.
why wouldn't one jump off the cliff?
Because you want to, I suppose, preserve life. Preserve your life. That's not because you're afraid of living. It's not because you're afraid of living.
Yeah, but not afraid of living, but the fear is that you break your neck in it. I mean, otherwise otherwise I'll jump anyway. Regardless, I ain't fear. I can just jump. I can walk.
Well, why would you put that meditation in your head?
No,
But then why would they end up in a situation in the first place to want to jump?
Yeah, because
Clearly they're
You
running
need
and
to
being
remember to take
afraid.
this thing. You can't just talk in the air.
This is what I'm saying. So
air.
it's like this is where I'm trying to bring to the point when you're talking about your makeup, human makeup. Sometimes, I mean, I've heard plenty of times where the captain of a army said, "Are you afraid?" You're damn right, I'm afraid. But he got ways of controlling that fear. So am I. You know what I mean? I've seen many situations where the people you see who you think is fearless, and think, I got to imitate him because he's not really fearless, He's got fear in him, but he's able to because that fear drives him.
Because who
Not
knows,
to-
he's
That's not
probably
fair
there
driving him.
transforming
Huh?
he probably transformed that fear into something else. Because I have
That's
been
right, that's
afraid
right.
many
Of course,
times,
that's what I'm
but
trying
in
to
that
drive at.
situation I know I can't just rely on just being afraid
That's
of the
right.
situation.
So you
I
control- you don't
acknowledge that I'm
dismiss
afraid,
it.
but you change it. So
Yeah, of
because
course,
you
you
change it
change
means
it.
there's no more fear
That's
anymore.
right, but this is what I'm trying to drive
But I'm
at
not
the beginning.
saying
That
fear. We shouldn't have fear, because
That's
we're
right.
going to have it. We just need
Of
to know how
course.
to overcome
Okay,
it.
that's what I'm trying to-
Because
of
we are
course
going to
I'm driving
experience
at.
those situations of being afraid.
Yeah, and when
but it's
people-
overcoming, and the more you overcome it, the more you realize you ain't going to be afraid of nothing.
Exactly,
That fear is no longer going to be there.
Yeah, because some youths think because they feel fear, they failed. You know what I mean?
They just need to understand.
You know what I mean?
They don't.
It's a matter I say.
They just
You need to
simply.
talk properly.
They don't understand and they don't know. If you're not aware of something, you're ignorant of the situation.
That's right.
And if you don't know, you're not going to know how to deal with it or how to change it.
To
You're
handle
going to
it.
be stuck in a perspective that is.
Yeah, so
You
that's
haven't finished saying what you said.
that's clear because I was trying to establish when young folks think they've failed because they feel I'm afraid. Like this man's not afraid, he ain't afraid, but I'm afraid. And he feels like, oh no, I can't really go because I'm afraid. Not knowing that people are able to override the fear, not to say, not even acknowledge it. Some people do it by not acknowledging it. It's still there. But once they can override that mechanism, and it's all right to feel afraid. You know what I mean? I'm not saying this.
My ears off.
You're live on Genesis. Okay, probably someone's giving us a agreement thing there. Okay, you can call back. Numbers are 07931 27 62 and the 32. And I repeat, 07931 27 62 and the 32. And we're on the subject of fear at the moment. It's not just a general subject. We just want to see whether, sometimes you feel bad because you feel afraid of somebody and you're unable to control the fear. That's what happened when you're bullied. You're scared of that person. You see what I'm saying? And it inhibits you because you're afraid of that person. Of course it does. But how I conquered that, not that I couldn't have it in me, or I shouldn't have it in me. I shouldn't feel a failure because you're fearful. It was when I was able to override the fear. And from you see me override the fear. But the problem with that is I was beating everybody up. After that initial initiation, I used that method to do it, to solve, and whereas I shouldn't have. This is what martial arts is supposed to teach you, innit? How to understand yourself and understand your emotions, and fear is an emotion. You see what I'm saying? So it's not that we're saying that we should be fearful. We're trying to encourage people to be. We say we've got to be fearless, but if you don't feel like you're fearless because you're afraid of something, you can override that and it'll be useful. So all emotions are useful, has their use. Otherwise, we wouldn't have it. Mm-hmm. It's built in. Does an animal fear? I don't think so. But it does fear if a gazelle sees a lion, he knows instinctively he's got to get that hell out of there. He runs. He's fearful of the lion. I'm going whoosh because he knows he's going to eat him. Even a baby's born on the run. Baby's born with an innate fear of a lion. And the lion's got a fear of the Maasai, because they used to kill the lions when initiation. The Maasai used to go, and to prove his manhood, used to go and kill a lion. And so the lion genetically got into that because it was scared of it showed me a documentary on telly one day. We had about 5 lions and 2 Maasai. The man said, watch that pride of lions now. When the pride of lions see the 2 Maasai coming, zonk. Disappeared up the road. What? They wouldn't run from nobody else, but they would run from the Maasai because they're genetically involved in their disappearance. They haven't got any natural predators. Lions don't have. The only predator is themselves, but there's no natural predator for the lion. It's top of the food chain. Mm-hmm. Man ain't got no real natural predator. I mean, just ourselves, innit? So we're top of the food chain. Top of the lion, we top the lion, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So the lion, but yet we were fearful of a lion. When we see a lion, it's got to be something, or a snake, it's an innate thing that we're afraid of. And we should be afraid of a snake, because that will help us survive. We shouldn't go and stroke a lion. Hell up, mate. The nice kitty. You know what I mean? You have your arm off. I've seen plenty of people do it. They think they can control their fear and stroke a lion because they've got their fear. When the fear is naturally telling them, move from that thing. That thing is there, it will eat you. If I wasn't scared, rubbish, come here, lion, and I'd meet my death in it.
Maybe.
maybe not. But
that's true. Maybe.
Yeah, see. But with understanding ourselves, so that's one point. Now, the history of
hold on a moment.
Yeah, go on.
So as I was explaining, what I was trying to say in the beginning, which I think we kind of missed, is perception. And it's always perception. It's how your mind perceives the scenario and the situation. So you may be encountering a scenario and you feel afraid of it, but it's how you perceive that after that moment determines the outcome of the situation. And that is what is more important than the idea of being concerned with how you feel, which was the first response. It's what you do next after that response, which is more important. So if you have trained yourself to observe your emotions and your feelings when you encounter a situation like that. Let's see who's calling.
No, you just keep giving an agreement ring. Thank you for that agreement.
Yeah. So if you depend how you perceive the situation determines the outcome of the situation. The more you allow the idea, the concept we associate with fear to overcome one's being, then the less we are able to respond in a clear manner, and the more likely you are to have a situation unfold in a way not beneficial to us. So, as I was saying in the beginning, it's just the mind, how your mind perceives the situation. You may have a natural dislike towards something, But then now, what do you do after that? This is what is important. Because you can go out there and look at a tree and say you don't like that and you're afraid of the tree. No, seriously, because I know somebody that used to be like that. But then as time goes on, people shift and people change, and that's only a tree. It's not going to do you no harm. But then now, you have to train yourself.
The phobias are fear, innit?
Yeah.
People got phobias.
Yeah, man. Those are fears. But what I was explaining in the beginning is the same thing. It's how your mind perceives the situation. What you're going to do with it once you acknowledge that. Are you going to allow yourself to continue down that cycle or direction where you're going to now start?
You're live on Genesis.
You keep
Yes, greetings, brother Uri.
Third time lucky.
Yeah, go ahead. How are you doing?
Yeah. Yes, I. Yeah, greetings to your guests in the studio.
Yeah, man.
Thanks. Yeah, man, it's an interesting debate. While you're listening, it's very, very interesting. One thing that came up is when you was talking about the genetics that this thing can be like, like the gazelle. It instinctively knows, yeah. But when you was talking about that, I was thinking about, okay then, so if you look at our genocide as slaves, enslaved people who were captured, the mothers basically told their boy child instinctively, and the girl child as well, but basically told the boy child, not to show their masculinity and be very submissive to the slave master, because otherwise they will be killed. So just like the gazelle, that was passed down, and you can see, I mean, you can still see some of the behaviors now. Right? But also what your guest is saying is that, I think from what I'm listening to, I agree with you both, but yeah, as martial arts, you can be trained to overcome the fear and not let your actions be detrimental to what you do. You can actually train yourself to make the fear be something that's
beneficial. Push you forward.
Beneficial.
Yeah, push you forward. Give you enough energy to actually overcome the situation.
Yeah, but as you're saying, your last point there was interesting as well. What was you saying? I forgot what you were going to say, but I was going to add to that. What did you say in your last bit again?
When we're dealing with the
perception,
the mind.
Yeah, the perception. I forgot what I was going to say now, but yeah, forwarding it.
But let me ask you a question, yeah?
Yeah.
Man was calling you out yesterday, though. Man was calling you out yesterday, bro.
What was that?
Wanted to know where you are about this boxing match that you're supposed to be going on, bro.
Yeah.
What boxing? What's that?
Well, did you make a challenge to a certain brother?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Where was he calling me out?
No, he said, where were you? Because he's waiting to hear from you, bro. When is this bout going to be?
you see, that's a typical example. Because, all right, then.
Yeah.
Right, the man might be in his arena because he's smart, you know what I mean? To like say, yeah, come to the cage fight. Yeah.
Well, is it a cage fight?
It's not. Yeah, because I think he's a cage man. The man's a cage fight, like one of them
MMA
boxers, them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
MMA fighters,
right?
mixed martial artists.
But it's not the fear that it's not fear that's saying to go. I would train up. It's saying to myself, hold on a second. At this particular time, the man will probably be with me. You know, just because I'm not fearful of him and going into don't be silly. The man's probably fitter than me, trained.
Yeah.
If anything, I'd say to him more come in the boxing ring. Because I'd have more of a chance in the boxing ring. Yeah, but even so, I'd still need to be trained. At the time, I wouldn't just jump in there with the man. I'd say, yeah, all right then. If man's do a charity match, you know, then I want to get into this because man might take me up on an offer.
Yeah,
you know
I don't think it's necessary, to be honest with you. But I mean, you might feel differently when I'm listening and the initial challenge. You get what I'm saying? And
yeah. Because I just, you know, it's just like I think, like I was saying, that was no fear, or maybe that was stupidity. Because, like as I was saying, if I just challenge the man's smart, you know what I'm saying? He's coming to his arena and bruck it up.
Yeah.
I mean,
And that makes sense. That's not intelligent, I suppose.
Yeah, you see. So it's the same thing about the fear thing, you know. We were talking about man might feel fear, but it don't let it control him. You know what I mean? He knows how to handle fear, rather than don't be fearful. You know, if you find yourself feeling afraid, doesn't mean to say that you're going to turn away from that thing, or you're not going to bother with it, because you can override that mechanism.
Yeah, man.
You understand?
Yeah, but is that? I mean, for instance, as well, what that example you talk about, this book, the MMA thing. I mean, my pride is another.
Pride, yeah. That's
Is
another,
pride not another emotion that you could say to yourself, all right, then I'm going to put myself, because of pride, I'm going to ignore
the warnings,
feelings of anxiety. Oh, this is what I was going to say now. I remember what you was going to say about when fear becomes anxiety. Right, that's not favourable to you, because then you can start thinking about things that's not, like your guest said, fair appearing, you know, false information, false evidence appearing real. You start putting anxiety, you start putting things into your head that's not there.
That's right.
You know, but like what you're saying, yeah, pride. You know what I mean? That could be stupid as well, because I could say to myself, well, I mean, is that pride, or is it? You know, I say I'm not scared of this man, but basically, I'm jumping in the ring, not knowing.
And that's not
the
intelligence.
rules of the game.
That's not smart. That's not smart.
That's not smart.
That's not smart. Yeah. But then I suppose, if a man's emotionally unbalanced and takes to the side of ego, then a man will do not a smart thing and jump into the ring. And that's not intelligent.
Untrained in a way.
Yeah. And even a martial artist is fully aware, knows how to, where his battleground is.
That's right, yeah.
Where he's gonna fight, what battles to fight. Yeah. Not every single battle.
Listen, because I've seen little women like Frame, right? Challenge big man that could just pick them up with one hand. And I would say there's no fear in her eyes. To me, the woman's actually.
Yeah.
Whoa, I don't know about that. I don't know if there was no fear in her at the time. This is what I'm trying to drive at, you see. I don't know if there was any fear in her, where she was able to sublimate it and transfer it to positive energies. Who says?
Yeah, fear is one of them emotions, isn't it? That governs the thinking. It's our emotion that ultimately govern the way in which we think. And fear is just one of the emotions that pop up in a moment of anything.
You know how to handle it, rather than deny it or reject it.
Or what callers say is important is the anxiety of over-stimulating fear. Fear is coming up to make you aware of something, and then, now make the choices. But if you don't make the correct choices and you start to indulge in it like a dessert, start eating it, that's when we've got a problem. That's when fear becomes false evidence appearing real. But initially, the emotion as it arises from your consciousness as a response to the moment, the feeling of unsurety. I know we can call it fear, but it's only a feeling of unsurety, of longevity. And because we're in that moment, we have to assess how we're gonna prolong life. Right. And in that moment, but we call it in society today, which I don't like to use this terminology because it sets up the brain to think a different way. We call it survival. I don't talk of it like that because then it causes our brain to start carrying on the mentality of survival living. And I don't live according to survival.
Well, you see, the good thing about it is that what you're talking about, the conversation that's going on before. You see what I mean? A lot of our youth don't have this conversation with themselves. You see what I'm saying to you? They just dive straight in. You see what I'm trying to say? But the mere fact that we can have this, diagnosis.
And they're well afraid.
Split seconds. They're afraid.
They're well afraid.
Yeah, and if some youths walk to school with a knife because they know that other person's got a knife, and they're fearful that they're gonna juke them up.
Yeah.
So they carry a knife.
So what happens? They carry a knife, but because of the fear and they haven't practiced something that is gonna balance this fear out. When it comes up, they freeze. Or they put themselves in a position which they didn't need to go into.
Fear, stab. You ever
that emotion?
We call it coward stab. A lot of people get stabbed.
Coward
joke.
What I was going to say about that, that's a similar. You're not talking about that. That's similar to experience that I've learned. I don't know if it's conquering the fear, but as you said, it might be. You don't like to say survival, but like Haru was saying, you know, he was, you know, when you are bullied by certain, you know, you do come across these bullies.
Yeah.
And if you show them fear, they actually feed on the fear.
Yeah.
So you've
That's
actually, so
their
I've actually learned not to show fear, to stand up to the bully, even though, you know what I'm saying. So then,
even though you're fearful, you can't let it come out. You see what I'm trying to
because
say?
you don't, but you stand up and say,
Yeah.
stand up and, you know, put that. It's almost bravado to say, listen, I'm not scared of you.
That's right.
Because if you show the fear, that you're finished.
Yeah.
It's like the gazelle, you know, you get nyam up by the lion. You know?
But it may require some
survival.
suffering, though. It might require some suffering on your part. When you do that, you're going to fight him, innit? So even though you might not think you might lose, but we can escalate that by you think you might lose. You shouldn't even think that way. But if you're prepared to take some licks just to get him thinking that you're not scared of him, you're going to take the licks, aren't you? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're going to take the licks.
But initially, like your colleague was just saying there now, so after you've got over that sort of, you say, hold on a second, the bully ain't all that, you know.
Exactly.
So then the first time you do that, it actually stays with you and say, look, that means, so then you become really unfearful.
Yeah, you become
You know what I mean?
confident. The word is
Yes.
confident. You
Yes.
start developing,
Confidence, okay.
yeah, man. You start developing this inner confidence that when you are in situations that are similar to the one that you were afraid of, you have an ability. Let's say you go to the edge of a building and you look down and you're afraid of heights for the same thing you're talking about. Preservation of life.
Yeah.
You don't want to fall over because of a
That's right.
gust of wind techie and then you're dead. Yeah. But then as you
Yeah,
start
yeah,
practicing
yeah.
going to this edge to look over, you start to become more accustomed to this discomfort.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, but the weirdest thing though, you hear a little voice jump, don't you? You know what I mean?
But that little voice jump is maybe their voice you heard initially with that concern. So that's what you're overcoming as time goes on. Each time you go and look, you're starting to develop. So that voice becomes less and less and less and less. And that's what you're training in martial arts.
Yeah. That reminds me, when you were saying that, it reminded me of, there used to be, when I used to go take me swimming, I used to go to Putney, and there used to be free diving boards, top, the middle, you know, and I go off the bottom one, but then I went to the top and looked down.
That top one, I don't even want to go on the top one. Are you serious?
It took me ages to look down, right? And I said, nah, everyone's just, all these smaller children are just jumping off. I'm like,
They don't even see the extent of the possibility. They don't even know the possibility.
But after I jumped the first time, I was like, yeah, wee! I come up there straight away back up there.
Yeah. You feel the joy, the benefit, the love. Yeah, man, how it makes you feel good. And this is what...
I give that, yeah. I continue listening to the reason.
Yeah, man,
reasoning,
enough respect.
Respect.
Give thanks.
Respect.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, there again, you see the fear that prevented him in the first place. Or, I mean, people want to... They're called phobias, fear, because people are afraid of snakes. They've got a phobia of snake, and they won't even hold a snake.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the way you conquer that is by holding the snake in it. Once you think, it's not bad, you know, you lose that fear. But initially, I think for survival, you need that feeling.
You need all your feelings.
It's how you translate it down in the end.
You know, we are governed by our feelings.
Of course.
Yeah, and we need all of them.
Yeah.
We need to be intact and in
Control of
not
all
necessarily control as a first step, but be definitely aware
of them. And
then control.
That's right.
You know, you need to
because once you're aware of this fear, you can think, you can understand what you're going through.
Yeah.
You understand? If we were taught this in the moment of fear, we would understand, it's only fear. I can reason with myself. I'm feeling afraid. As my uncle told me when that bully was giving me some whops, you know, only one, give him one. You only need one. And I thought,
yeah, then you'll turn
you
the
know
tables.
what I mean? Hang on a minute.
And then you'll be afraid.
Yeah.
You don't want to feel that one again.
Nah, exactly. So then I become a bully.
No,
you see what I'm saying?
Yourself. You become a bully if you start going to other people looking to repeat the act.
Yes.
That's when you become a bully.
Well, I did. My
go.
first response was a left hook. First response to anything now, whack. So we've got to be careful of that as well. That what delivered us.
No, but that's if people are constantly coming to you and putting it on you.
No,
but if you're going out
I'll
there
take it to them. To be honest with you, that was my resolution.
Yeah.
That anything now, if you say wrong word to me, you're gonna get that right hook.
Yeah.
It became my watchword and song. You see what I mean? It delivered me then, but it became a problem later on. You see?
You have to learn how to manage
this. Is why
this
Tai
power.
Chi. That's why I think martial arts comes in to control that aspect of yourself.
Yeah, because we're afraid to unleash the beast.
Yes.
Oh no, we're afraid to unleash that which is inside our primordial aspect. We're afraid to release that which we think is locked up behind a cage. which is
well, I mean, we've learned these things
anger.
from we learned these things from primordial times, you know, when man first came on the planet, innit? That's how part of our culture. We learn about when we lived in the forest, a lion. We learned through trial and error that a lion will eat you if you don't, you know what I mean?
That is the whole reason why all cultures, they have mythology.
Yes.
And mythology talks about the hero's journey. The person who's waiting to embark upon this path,
That's right.
which is going to liberate them. Yeah, and usually the first step is the most hardest. Therefore, one is afraid to step forward on this journey. And that's the hero's call. This is where it all begins. And each culture has this.
I think we need more of that in our culture, you know. I think teachings of myth, the Chinese do that quite a lot, don't they?
Yeah.
And we don't actually train our children to understand mythology and the stories like what you just talked about on a journey. If you told that to a child, they would put it in their head.
Yeah, of course,
you
and
know?
they'll remember. I don't know if they used to remember any of these stories. That'd be abundant stories.
You should tell them stories about this.
Still do.
Yeah?
We still go through them.
Really?
Yeah. Yesterday we was going through,
Blind Man and the Elephant.
Who?
The Blind Man and the Elephant. Do you want to recite that story? Do you remember?
Go on. Let's hear it. Go.
So it's about a blind man, and he showed each different person a different part of the elephant. So one person saw the tusk, and they had a certain opinion on what the tusk meant,
Okay.
or they saw the ear and they had an opinion what the ear meant. So it meant that each person had a different perspective of what an elephant was, because they only saw one part of the elephant. So it went back to the king. Oh, they felt because they're blind. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, you mean they were feeling around the elephant?
Yes, they only felt one part of the elephant.
Yeah, they
so
could
they
describe
had,
it as a tusk. Or,
Yeah.
They had to describe it.
They had to describe it. So
Okay.
so if they felt like the tail, they would have a certain opinion on what the elephant was. So then all of them then came together, and they were all saying this is what an elephant was, but they all had different opinions. They were arguing about it, saying the other person was wrong, but really they were all right, because
There were parts.
they were looking at different parts, and it was their perspective. But if everyone looked at everybody else's, then it meant that everyone would have known that everybody was right.
So is that what you learned from? What did you actually gather?
I gathered from it that when you look at the whole picture rather than just your section, you realise that everybody sees his situation differently. And when you just look at your part, it means that you may think that other people are wrong, even though that is what they saw and that is what they took from the situation.
That's brilliant. That is absolutely brilliant.
So something like that allows us to overcome this I think, fear, because then you can appreciate that it's not just you in the world, and the other people have other perceptions. Those other perceptions are valid, and when those other perceptions are valid, then you're more inclined not to be emotionally in balance as a result.
That's right.
And I think that's such an important thing.
Very, very important. That same story goes with the Uso set. Story about Uso being chopped up into 14 pieces.
That's right.
And scattered all over the earth. And Uset and his
Set up.
Yeah,
Set up.
It was
By the
proper set up.
72 Kemba
Yeah, it was
he
proper
put him
set
into
up.
the thing. That's the
Proper set up that was.
That's a wonderful.
You know what I mean? And then Nethebet and Uset went about gathering the pieces of Usera, her beloved husband, and putting the body back together again. And, you know what I mean? It's all have meanings to it.
Of course, and there's like esoteric, metaphysical meanings.
We don't
these
do that
have.
with our children. We should have stories like that. We should have myths like that.
I think so.
In our community, because that would train the mind to understand at a very young age. I mean, you can churn out PhDs if you told stories.
Oh, definitely.
But what the society does is choose to muddy and make things complicated by giving you X, Y, Z, X equals Y equals Z equals 2. You know what I mean? I'm kind of crap. You know what I mean? What's that all about? You know what I mean? I don't understand all that. You know, algebra and all them kind of stuff there. You know what I mean? That's just if you can do it simply, but they refuse. They want to complicate so they can do this. But as a Tai Chi, as a history of Tai Chi.
Okay, yes.
Where did that begin?
Okay, so we've got many stages to appreciate here, and for me to answer this, we're gonna have to jump around a little bit. So if I go to a place in history, which is recorded what you mentioned earlier on, and then maybe we can go back and go forward. So, in ancient Kemet is the colony of two civilizations at that period of time. What I'm referring to, Ethiopia had two out there, Kemet and the Indus Valley, Kush.
Any dates? Rough dates?
We're talking about 2,000 years ago. We're just going back to this.
So it's 4,000.
Yeah. 2000 BC.
It means it's
Okay, so
400.
no, hold on. So the Ramesses II tomb. I'll only mention that just to put it into context. So the Ramesses II tomb, which is 1213 BC. So 1213 BC, Ramesses II. You see in his tombs karate movements, jiu-jitsu, pushing hands, wrestling, spear, charioteering. You see all these archery, you see all these different things upon the tomb of Ramesses II. They are embedded into wall where you can put your hand in there. That's how deep the carvings are.
Is it?
Yeah, it's properly, it's not painting on top, it's like
Cut out.
cut into the
Stone.
walls, yeah, permanent. So that's 1213 BC. You have 1950 BC. How many years is that? 700 or some 800 years? Let's say 700 years. Prior to Ramesses II, you have Ben Hassin. Now, Ben Hassin temple, this is a glorious temple, because this temple here, it's not that it's the same like Ramesses where you can put your hand into it. They're paintings upon the wall. So you see memorials that are 20 foot, 6 foot, different parts of the temple where you see applications. If you know martial art and you see this, you know what's going on. So you see all these hip throws, ankle locks, arm locks, stick fighting, or that one which is like a policeman's truncheon where you got the long thing and you got the long, you know what I'm talking about? The policeman truncheon. You got techniques like that, charioteering. You got so many, and they're done in brown, usually color just brown. But you see like patterns of movements. So you may see in one line 20 movements, and it's like a sequence you're observing. And that is before Ramesses II, 1213 BC. We're going to 2000, let's say BC, as a round up number, which is 4,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, the reason why I mentioned Ethiopia first is because how did the Kemet people and then the Indus Kush, the Indian people, end up developing martial arts? Being that they're colonies. You understand? That's why I wanted to start with there first before I went into dating stuff. Because they're colonies of Ethiopia. Because we can say Herodotus or Herodotus, these two characters who are, what are they, 600 BC, something like this, who make reference. One of them saying how, yeah, Ethiopia's got these two colonies and these are black people. I'm just making clarity. Just of, you know, the history they put into play. These are black, Nagas. The ones that were sent from Ethiopia over to what is now called India, to the Indus Valley, were the Nagas. So at the time, because we're jumping, so at the time when Buddhism now was in effect, there were no European people or light-skinned people in India, because we have Greek historians that are saying that. We're not just saying it because of our own desire. We've got Greek historians that are saying at the time that the Buddha existed, and also the person who is known and given the credit for bringing martial arts to China, which is Bodhidharma. At his time, the empire, the Magala Empire, because we got so much evidence that shows that there were no other nations there other than us. We can even, I'm just trying to make a picture here. China, we got the San people. Japanese people, Chinese people got clear explanation of history of the out of Africa theory. So the San people migrated out from Africa 100,000 years ago as one movement of people. And they went there, and these people look like Chinese anyway.
So people have been leaving Africa, exiting Africa for a long time because people think Africa...
You know the interesting thing, because I asked my daughter this question on the way here, and I asked my other daughter yesterday, do you think nature has an ability to reproduce the same life form twice on the planet? Do you understand the question there? Like, hold on, can we make, as I was saying to the both of them, a giraffe? Would nature create a giraffe in two locations simultaneously on the planet? Would it create a bee, a wasp, a plant, lavender? Or is it going to make a tiger, an elephant?
No, it wouldn't do that.
It doesn't do this stuff here. So humans ain't no different.
Yeah, plants migrate.
Yeah, everything migrates and moves around.
Yeah, that's right. So there's not a crime in migrating, is there?
There's not a crime in migrating, but it gives us clarity that there would have to have been one human species.
Yes, that
one.
migrated.
There is no vision how genetic science explains this.
Multiple places.
Yeah, no, we're not multiply doing that. I asked my daughter yesterday, she told me about tectonic plates, and that's my youngest one, and she saying how the Earth mass was closer together.
She knows about that.
She explained that to me, that the Earth mass is together in the centre.
Well, let her explain that. Let me hear. Explain that to us.
Because it was spontaneous in this. No, but you explained it so well yesterday. Don't worry about it. But in the centre, though, of this landmass is where we sprung from. So migration will have to take place from the centre. We just move.
That's right.
How could we not? But then there is only one species on the planet. Sometimes we say, African martial arts want to find a connection in Africa. Man, we can find African martial arts connection in China and India because we are the Africans that was in China and India creating it. You don't have to go back to Africa to look for it.
That's right.
Like, to migrate over to the Grimodi landmass of Europe, because that's what took place.
That's right. Yeah.
From when them sand people went, sir, the other one went up, sir, to Europe.
Australia.
We travelled, we moved everywhere. And then where we moved to because of Ethiopia, right? So let's go back to Ethiopia before we even go to these places properly, because we have to just do a backtrack of history to understand. Ethiopia now, who sent out all these colonies.
Yes.
Yeah, because we're going back. Well, Ethiopia is, according to modern Western science, is 3.5. Denkanesh makes it 3.5 million years ago. We're not even going back that far. We're just going back to a period of 100,000 years ago. 100,000 years ago is not even a percentage of a million. Not really much of a million. So, the Ethiopians, people, they have a form which is still practiced. And when you observe this form, you see the potential of every martial art. It's now, if you want to look it up, it's called Nubian wrestling. Really easy to find it. Just type in Nubian wrestling, and you will see the same techniques you see on the walls of Ben Hassan, the same things that you're seeing on the walls of Ramses II. You will see the same Nubian warriors practicing. Martial arts is supposed to evolve anyway. It's supposed to develop and it's not supposed to be stagnant.
Well, the question is, who was the first teacher?
Well, according to Chinese now, Shaolin Temple, an Indian monk, and we've already clarified that the Indian monk would have been a black brother because of the time period we're dealing with. This Indian monk called Bodhidharma moved from India to China, and he set up, or he moved the Wudan Mountains range he was in.
Accept your own Genesis and be yourself. Genesis.
Sorry about that.
So Bodhidharma, according to Shaolin Monastery, is supposed to be the father of Kung Fu and martial arts, the father of yoga.
Really?
Yeah. So Bodhidharma, when you see his depictions, it looks like a black brother who's vexed, to be honest. Usually depicted with a stick with a slipper on it. There's a lot of mythology around this brother. Said to have meditated for 8 years looking at a wall.
8 years?
8 years looking at a wall. This brother here. And after his contemplation, he realized that he needed to teach these people how to, so he taught them the 8 lower hand techniques. 18. Them lower hand, if you know them, you've seen them, it looks similar to what we call Shakem Shafre, Bao Dao Jin. There's a similar movements, if you know what.
So his name is used in these movements, Bao Dao?
No. Bodhidharma.
Okay.
Name isn't really in there. Bodhidharma was supposed to be a prince. But you see, if you know history now, Bodhidharma, how can I say it? Didn't teach true teaching of the Buddha. Bodhidharma, this is what they do. They present people to us that are on their team. And then they allow us to have these people and put them onto higher places. So then I was reading Bodhidharma's scriptures, and they're really extreme. No. He got his student. This is why they have one hand up and the other palm down. Because his first student, who he passed the legacy on to, went up to Bodhidharma and asked him, enlightened sage, I want to follow you. And the brother gave him no reply. And then he stepped forward, and then he must have went over after him again. He goes, I want to, whatever he's expressing, because he wants to prove that he wants to follow him. So the Bodhidharma tell him, say, along the lines of, find self. It's not me you need to follow. So then this young man turned around, chopped his arm off. When Bodhidharma said that, he goes, okay, you know.
Bit light, isn't it?
You said you know, and then he became his first student.
What, with one arm?
With one arm. And that's why it's done with one hand, not with the 2 hands.
I see.
You understand?
Yeah, picture becomes clearer.
Everything is historical here, and it's called the Bodhidharma. But Bodhidharma never taught the laws,
Okay.
and the laws for men fight, because the gem sulfate, the gem sulfate, I said gem sulfate, because it's Greek people, Alexander the Great, Alexander the Conqueror, whatever you want to call him,
Yeah, the great, yeah.
Macedonia. This gentleman there
Macedonia.
went through India and found the first Buddhas, and they are practicing martial arts as well. And they call it gym sulfate because naked is gym, you know, the Olympians and all that stuff there. Yeah, so gym means naked. Gnosis, and Sophia is the last part, which is wisdom.
Wisdom, yeah.
Yeah, so these people were naked wanderers who were philosophers.
Wow.
And when they came across them, they weren't able to pass beyond them.
Because Africans were naked.
Yeah, man, because that's the name they just gave the early. So now the name became Buddhist. Before them, it would have been coming from what in modern time is called Memphis.
Yes.
So they would have been following the teachings of Ta. So they know. So when invasion came, Hindu caste system came in. Them man they left India and migrated back to Ethiopia. The Asoka king. Yeah. Asoka. The name Asoka edits. Yeah. In these texts here, you're getting a description of what took place of the migration back home. Yeah. You got the Greek historians saying how the gym sulfate home was Merowe. That's where the connection was. So I'm just trying to bring a reference of time frame of how it's always connected back to the motherland or to the center interior, to this space here.
Okay.
So now Bodhidharma, who introduced a way in which to practice, to meditate, to stretch, and how to fight to the Shaolin Temple. This is the time period that escapes me for now, but martial arts evolves, martial art develops as a continuation of what he's taught them. So they have their own way of expressing, and these are again black brothers, because I haven't gone into the time period which is like 60 BC is when things started to shift. Around this 0 point of what Europeans go 2,000 years ago is where a lot of things around the planet changed around.
Yeah.
This is when a lot of institutes started to get initiated and brought in, which changed the perception of the world. No longer is it a black-dominated world in the sense. We're not even dominating. We just is.
That's right.
Yeah, it's like having lions, a pride them, and then albino ones start to develop, and then the albinos start running the whole of the landscape. You understand?
Yeah.
The lion ain't doing it because he's just living.
Yeah.
We're just living.
Yeah.
But then now the albino come along and say, oh gosh, he hasn't got enough of what he desires. And they start ganging up and start taking everything out. And we've got a time period for that. So it's the same with human beings.
Yeah, well, that's a good history run. Now, martial arts, is it a purely defensive art?
Martial arts initially would have sprung from a physician.
Is it?
I mean, a man can fight and push each other. We're not talking about that. We're talking about martial arts, isn't it? Yeah, so a man can push a man because that is from the beginning of time. Two people have a disagreement and then a person push a person or slap it, whatever. That is not a martial art, but that's just human reaction, and that's from the beginning of time. Two men have a disagreement. However, what we're talking about here, martial arts, that would have to have developed out of a person who's aware of how the body structure is, how it moves, the weaknesses, the muscles, their alignments, breathing, all this stuff here. And the only person who would have known that, I call it a physician in modern day, would have been a shaman. The shaman, the priest.
Yeah.
That's why it goes now into priesthood stuff. That's why it goes now into Jedi stuff. Modern time, Jedi Knights. Jedi, because that is a representation of an old, they call them Kemetu. Those brothers that were warrior priests that knew archaeology, sacred geometry, sciences, anatomy, physics, you understand? They knew that, and when they moved to the different places they were migrating to, they were able to create stuff because they were taught this stuff. So then, the first people who would have been creating, and from my studies, which I was observing, you see like when the Hyksos, so the Hyksos would have been known as gem sulfate and would have been also known as Buddhists. Just the Hyksos, because we're talking about time and history. And the only thing that was going on at that time was that religion or that practice.
The Hyksos were Europeans, weren't they?
the Hyksos were coming from over in India, and we're talking about the time period 2,000 years ago. We got Herodotus who say there's no white people. Herodotus is not even white himself. No, hold on. So we really understand history. That means the Hyksos couldn't have been white. You understand? Because we're talking, if the Hyksos are supposed to have ruled for 600 to 900 years, and we're looking at the 12th dynasty of Kemet, no, there isn't no, what's it called, Europeans, what we know as Caucasian people, circulating the place and having a civilization. They're not there until 60 AD. As long as we know that 60 AD is when the Roman Empire started up. With the start of the Roman Empire, we have to spread Greco-Roman.
But it's not withstanding that they weren't there. They weren't there as immigrants. Because actual fact, they came down from the mountain regions and actually was in Kemet. We never let them in further. It was the Ramesseans who let them in. The Ramesseans, there was a ban to come into the city. But Ramesses loved the white people.
They're not white people. Because you're misleading the nation, the people, by saying, because white, if you tell me white, you know what I'm seeing, isn't it? A European person that we see now. And they're not looking like that. Because we got historians who are telling us they're not looking like that. So I'm not saying it because that's my perception. I'm just using their historians to explain that at the 12th dynasty, there were no Europeans, because they're telling us that. Okay.
Yeah, well, taking into consideration that 20,000 years was the appearance of the Cro-Magnon in that part of the region, 20,000.
And those Cro-Magnon man are the same Sand people that are moving out, which are the same black brothers which are migrated.
Because what you got to remember is, when the first differentiation of man is albino. The first differentiation of man. Because we went from black to white, albino.
I don't know if you can
African
say that
albino,
clearly.
because what it was, according to what been said, that the albino made his appearance in Africa, right, as because of incest. Because at that time, before the totemism, everybody was having relationship. There was no taboo, and the first thing we tabooed was incest. So we gave the woman a totem, so she can go wherever she travelled. She carried the totem. If you meet anyone with the same totem, that's when we have to split the races up, because it was all bunched up in one place. You understand? So because of that incest, albinos start to appear. This was made us give us the impetus to taboo. Because sleeping with people that's so close to you produces this. You know what I mean? And so this is
albinism. To be albino is because your melanocytes, the melanin that flows in your system, is not active. I can't say with clarity that to achieve that you need to have genetically be in that 1-to-4 ratio of someone that's in your bloodline. I'm unsure if that's correct, but I'm very clear that radiation, environmental effects, solar eclipse, and all these different energies from the Earth can mutate DNA. So I'm unsure whether I can be so clear as you to say that, it's that incest that causes albinism. I would say that genetic mutation is more than just incest. But look how different we are in here.
Yeah, but
between us,
we're not genetically from the same universe.
But so is Japanese people, because they done their own research and say that, they found that the percentage of uniqueness, they thought they were unique, and when they started doing genetic code sequencing, they realized that they're more black than they even realized.
That's right. So we know that.
No, they couldn't believe it. And then when I'm looking at this documentary, I'm thinking, wow, they are saying they're looking to embrace now, because they thought they were separate. They thought they was different, unique.
Well, I'll tell you what, man, they're doing a good job taking sand and giving us some Milo now, you know.
I know.
They've got this Milo thing, picking up sand and putting in the Milo tin.
I don't even trouble Milo.
And selling people sand for Milo. So they're not
be
doing a very good
plastic
job.
rice. I heard that
And plastic. These Chinese
stuff,
ain't doing a very good job with relationships here anyway. But it's notwithstanding now. So we're talking about martial arts as a defensive.
Because, sorry to cut you, Japan, the first shogun, because we have to, because the way history is, a lot of these cultures were, like the Olmecs, a mixture of civilizations at a certain stage of development. So at a certain time, India was a mixture of different complexions of darkness. But we're talking about with a clarity that the European who had moved down from the Caucasus Mountains. Yeah, the Grimaldi man who got stuck on the other side of the ice age, who over that period of time their DNA shifted, and when the ice melted and they migrated back in, they never just come in and just took over from 10,000 years ago. It took them 10,000 years to 60 AD.
Well, the Grimaldi man was a bit late, because when he migrated to that Pangea, that part of Africa that broken up, right, which is called Europe, they when they got the people, there were hominids already there.
Yeah, because we keep on moving.
Yeah, because the hominids that left Africa. So when the Grimaldi was the first Homo sapien.
When the Nagas, when the Ethiopians sent over a colony to India, there were people already there. Because they were already there 100,000 years before that.
Yeah,
so they had slightly shifted as well.
Yeah, they call them hominids. They were like man-tending creatures. They were primitive.
I don't follow this European perception of man creature.
It's not even a European perception. It's what some of the black scholars are saying now, that the primitive man wasn't born with this particular phenotype. Boom, up.
Of course not.
No, right. So he was primitive, and that's what they call the
Twa people.
The Neanderthals. They call it Neanderthals.
You know the Twa people.
Yeah, they're the original people.
Yeah, the Twa people. You know, as you say, phenotype. They are still a bit different from us.
Oh yeah.
Their vocal cords are still.
We are subspecies.
Yeah, so we are hybrids.
Hybrids.
Definitely.
Yeah,
as you say.
And some of the Twa people don't look nothing like us.
And that is what I'm saying.
Phenotypical.
We're talking about as if we have changed, grown, and evolved through landscape and all them things there, but our basic structure really hasn't. Because it's like a saber-toothed tiger and a tiger. Like, to be honest, there's not much shifting going on. And I know 3.5 million years have passed by. We can look at Denkanesh and look at her bones and say, yeah, she would have been a Twa person, and they can give you a whole description of all them things there. 3.5 million years, there's not much change going on. We're talking about a history of 2,000 years. We're only discussing a 10,000 year period or 2,000 about martial arts. When we're going back 3.5 million years, which is still within Western theology, because to be honest, probably longer than that anyway, because they tend not, because carbon dating ain't as sharp and precise. And then Sheikh and Diop, when you wanted to carbon date certain things, wasn't allowed to carbon date the way, so it's suspect. It's suspect anyway, carbon dating. So we're in a time frame that we're getting from something outside of ourselves. So time isn't how it is. However, back to martial arts though. After Bodhidharma had taught martial arts and things had unfolded and developed over time, then we have various martial artists coming along, and some of them are a mixture, some of them are not, and then there come a stage where Tai Chi specifically, Shang Fei, the person who is, he's like a mythological character, but the story is that he was observing while he was in the temple a snake and a crane fighting, and from observing the snake and the crane fighting, he created what we now know as Tai Chi. Right. If you go back to Nubian wrestling, if you see how they engage in a fight, Tai Chi, we do something called pushing hands, reeling silk, and it's a circular motion.
Pushing hand what?
Pushing hand is an umbrella term. The form of pushing hands I'm referring to is called reeling silk. And in the reeling silk, you're doing a circular motion with your hands connected. Disconnected, you're trying to grab, seize, hold, manipulate, redirect the force, take the person down necessarily backwards, forwards. It doesn't really matter because it's all possibilities. When you're watching Nubian wrestling, you observe that they are doing the same thing to start. They're doing reeling silk. They do reeling silk, then once they latch on, they may either punch, I don't really see kicks too much, elbow, they grab like they're doing wrestling, or they'll do hip throw, or they'll do a throw over the shoulder. All this stuff is going on. So you see Nubian wrestling take an observation. You don't see like a capoeira style, but that's something that should have manifested.
Well, I want to ask you about women, yeah? Women, as you would say, it's more like grappling and defensive. I mean, do you recommend that women and children take up martial arts as a defensive? Since we have this knife thing going on and gun thing going on, are you trained to how to disarm somebody with a knife, or disarm somebody with a gun or something?
I think when you're observing, I'm going to go back, when you're observing the Nubian wrestling, it's a sport we're observing, just like observing Olympic wrestling. We're observing the form that they developed to show who has a good ability at these particular techniques, but it's not showing you what they're doing in the village. It's not showing you what they're doing with their children. They're not showing you how the knowledge is spread through the community and the family. And I could only assume that it would be. So if a gentleman who practiced the art had a family of male and female, I would assume that all children would naturally, because they're a warrior culture. It's not like they say that they're going to just say, oh no, this and that. I would assume, I haven't got no clarity of that information there. In modern day time, it's imperative because there's no boundary between man and woman these days. There's no separation to say, oh, she's a woman and we shall leave her alone.
You can't tell the difference, huh?
Yeah, it seems most people can't tell the difference, the truth. So a male and a female, a child and an elder, all have to learn some way of to defend themselves in a situation that they may not be anticipating. They need to develop calmness in there. So we do. Last night we was going through knife attacks from a straight forward, stab forward, overhead, which are the basic ones, over the top.
About slashing.
And a slash.
Slashing,
Yeah, so we went through those basic techniques there to find. Initially, what I done with them is for them to go through the movements to develop their own natural rhythm and ways in which they will think that they will, so they overcome this fear that we're talking about.
Well, let me ask Kem Step. Yeah, don't worry, I get it. Now, when you took this up, right? Did you have that in mind when you took up Tai Chi? That you felt the need to be able to defend yourself, right?
No.
No.
Because
Subconsciously,
I'm very small and I've been smaller. From where I was, I always had to defend myself, anyways. So I already grew up defending myself all the way, even up until I came here. But I didn't take up Tai Chi for that purpose. I started doing Tai Chi because it was recommended to me to help us a recovery process for the injury that I suffered a few years ago, which is a back injury from playing volleyball. So that's one of the main reasons why I was doing Tai Chi to begin with. It was very difficult. Didn't really like it. No, because I thought it was so slow. Oh my gosh, why are we repeating the same thing? But I think over time I learned how to love Tai Chi and the benefits that I could see it doing, not just with my back, but internally also, as well as defense. So that was just a byproduct. That was simply a byproduct of me doing Tai Chi for health.
Sorry, there's nothing in the fridge. Right, go. Yeah, but you, as saying that now, if you was attacked now,
You got one?
if you got one, yeah?
There's on the tree, but we
That's
can
all right.
share one.
If you was attacked now, I mean, you're thinking now. Do you feel a bit safer? Do you feel any safer since you've known this?
Oh, I'm not gonna say I feel safer because I've always been in that environment of fighting constantly.
Really? You don't look like it.
Looks are deceiving because I've always been in that position from like I was about 3 years old where I used to get bullied in school, but I didn't want to fight because my mom told me not to.
Okay.
So I constantly used to get bullied around 3, 4, and 5 until she said, you know what, after speaking to the teachers, parents, nothing's happening, you need to defend yourself. And I think it's from then, at 3 years old, I started fighting for the purpose of defense, and not just for my defense, for the purpose of defending those who are not able to do so.
So it just added to your ability then.
Yeah, I would say definitely. So I would say it definitely has improved. So in those situations, I'm not just rushing to fight.
Okay.
I am assessing the situation and seeing what would be the best technique. However, if it does go there, it would without a doubt come in handy. Because you know when you fight now, you just go crazy.
Yeah, but now you're
But then with it, you're more controlled in how you move, and you know where to move. You know how it's like
Women are vicious.
doing it.
Yeah,
Doing Tai Chi for like over a year now, it's almost embedded some of the movements in me naturally. And I realized that when I say to my mother, just randomly attack me and I'll see what I'll do. without even thinking, your body automatically moves within that.
Man.
So I would say it definitely has improved. So if there's any situation that may occur, it would come up.
Really?
Yeah, but I don't do it for that purpose. So.
Oh, really? Yes. That's good though, because it's a good thing to recommend this to people of young age. Still, if you can get all the young people to, get rid of all the anxiety and anger out. In this way, surely that could make a difference.
Yeah, but I say you have to be careful as to why someone's going into a particular martial art. Because, for example, someone may go in it for the sole purpose of being able to defend themselves, and they can take that out of context or somewhat transform it into something else that it should not be, where they develop this ego, martial arts, now let me go and show it. So you have to be careful with the mentality that of the person learning it. That's why at our Tai Chi class, it's not just about teaching the movements, it's about understanding the movements, why it may be required, and developing a particular mentality that you're not, it's reducing the ego, basically. So you have to tackle the mental state of the individual. It's not just about knowing martial arts for defense.
So what part of martial arts is Tai Chi's mental? Which part of martial arts would you classify as mental?
I would say all of it, because it all takes a particular mental strength to do. I'll give an example. When we do the statics, which we go into Wu Chi and different movements, you may be standing in one position, but it's not just about standing in a position. You almost need mental strength to carry on doing it. You then become focused onto something. You strengthen your will to push through, even though your arms may be tired. You need mental strength to say, you know what, let's tell myself this pain is for a greater good. Keep going. So everything within Tai Chi is a mental strength. And not just that, there's certain readings that our teacher does and certain explanations that we are given that not just develop our knowledge, but our understanding and our emotional understanding of certain scenarios.
But I'm looking into this and I'm thinking relationship-wise. But you want to say something?
Yeah,
go on.
I was gonna say that with our teacher's mixed martial arts class, so he does classes for children as well.
Yeah.
And in the class, he always at the end he makes them discuss what they've learned in class, and he also has a thing that basically tells them that you shouldn't use what you learn in class for bad purposes, and you should only use it for doing a recite it. Go on, recite it.
Is it a truism you got to recite?
Yeah.
My promise.
My promise, I will to always do my best
And never give up.
and never give up, to obey my parents and teachers, to tell the truth and honour my word, to always be polite, to never misuse what I learn in class. My principles: humility, honesty, kindness, perseverance, self-control, unbreakable spirit.
Wow. She memorized that good.
All of them have to
Yes,
memorize
all the children have to memorize
Wow.
it, and they have to repeat it in every class. So it reminds them that they're not just there to misuse what they learn in class and fight outside, but also for discipline as well. And they're not allowed to grade unless they showed their behaving at school and they're behaving with their parents and they're doing their chores. So everything that they learn inside the class, they also have to make sure they show it outside of class as well.
Isn't that wonderful?
And that's on the Chi Combat.
Is it?
That's Chi Combat. Go on.
Yeah, that's Chi Combat. Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, it is.
That is so here, folks, you're not only getting a lesson in self-defense, you're getting a lesson in character building, mannerisms, what's lacking today. So this is a wonderful thing to implement in our bag of tricks, as I said, in our development stages. Children as young as 4, did you say?
5.
5.
No, but you do actually. Actually, you do. Yeah. Actually, there are sometimes children who are in that form. You got them little ones that are running just beneath around your knee, because I'm 6 foot. So they come like they're at my knee level. When I look at them, and they're in full uniform, full gi, and white belt around their waist until they start developing their thing. And then they're initially in the beginning at such a young age, their focus is a bit challenging. Parents will be over there.
Yeah.
So then you may have them set up to do kick routine or punch in a bag or shoulder barge, so they could learn how to use their force going forward. And then they may do 2 or 3 and run off to their mother. And then you're like, okay, you are the teacher there. Okay, then leave there for a moment. Then you go over there and say, oh, so you're ready to get back involved now? No, and they'll say to you, no. And then the mother and father will say, go on, so-and-so, go on. Then, and then I'm like, okay, then. Walk off and leave them, and then come back later on, okay, it's time now. And then it's like, okay, then, so then you have to give them time to develop this confidence in what they're doing, because sometimes they don't even understand And most of the time they're females, actually, girls that do that. Not really the boys. The boys at that young age, they love to do all that, but it's the girls that they think, hold on, why am I using my shoulder to hit a bag? And they feel the impact and they don't understand, and then they start doing some kicking. Because you see the minute they start kicking a pad, and then halfway through the kicking, they're gone somewhere else in their mind. They've vanished. They're not there. And then the person holding it is looking at them. And usually it's boys that keep focused with the physical stuff really well. It's usually the girls that don't do well focusing on the physical stuff until later on. Yeah.
But I'm thinking in terms of relationships, yeah. But on a man who a bully woman, you better watch out, you know, because you can imagine you in a situation, in a relationship, and your boyfriend decides to, you know, to slap you up about the place.
No, but wouldn't you already know the character and certain behaviors of your partner before you go there in the first place?
But I don't think you can.
I think there's a lot that you can see. There's certain behaviors and certain mannerisms about them that you can see before you even get to the person.
You reckon?
What they do is they go, oh, it's nothing, and then it builds and it builds and it builds until it becomes violent. Because you can see it. If someone is violent, you can either see it in their face or in how they carry themselves. So these are things that as females we need to be educated in knowing how to do.
But I hear this thing, over time they become violent. You know what I mean? They weren't always violent. They hid it very well.
You just never saw it because you were never really looking for it.
Yeah, maybe they never saw it, or maybe they got prodded enough, pushed enough to start to develop something that they didn't even have present. And I've experienced that. I'm quite calm in my being.
So then you saying that it would come down to both the individual within the relationship, because there's some people who purposefully drive you to become violent. Like they would say, hit me about 100 times constantly, and if you don't, they think something's wrong with you. Why don't you? I'm behaving like this and they're not doing anything. That's their mental state.
Man.
So as a man, you wouldn't want to be with a person like that. And if you recognize that trait, the best thing to do is to leave. You're not gonna stay there until you end up in that situation.
Well, we don't leave. We don't leave. We get attached. Emotions.
You're live on Genesis.
Yeah, greetings to you all in the studio.
Greetings.
Really interesting show.
Thank you.
I've got to agree with the sister with what she said there about often women, or whoever it may be, because, you know, violence can be in any type of relationship. People often miss the red flags.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lack of awareness when it comes to what is healthy behaviour and what is not healthy behaviour. And that's what makes us miss the signs in the first place.
True.
You reckon?
Usually there'll be something there. It usually does start off subtle at the beginning, but there's something there. But because you're not aware that behaviour is dysfunctional, or as a sister said, you kind of just brush it under the carpet and just think of it as just, you know, I don't know,
but sis,
eccentric behaviour or something. You don't take it on board. You don't take it as seriously as you should.
I don't know, you know, sis. I'm thinking, is there ever a time then when the man doesn't, if you're in a relationship, doesn't actually start off with violence?
Yeah, man.
I would say definitely that there is that scenario. So it's not one or the other. There's many in between. It's not just one stick and another stick. We have to look at the in between also. So this is when you look at what is the man experiencing inside the home and outside the home. Are they under constant stress, and are you adding to that stress as opposed to being his relief to the outside world? Especially as a melanated woman, our black men experience a lot. So are we being their relief, or are we going to be a person who continues to agitate, knowing that they're experiencing things? However, them becoming violent scenarios, which is not really what's being taught now. Give thanks, I grew up with my mother who spoke to me about these things at a very, very tender age. I'm talking about primary school. I was 7 years old, having this type of relationship with my mother and my grandmother. So this is also very important.
Sometimes as well, sis, it's not necessarily a reaction to the woman's behaviour, because it's kind of funny that a man in the same situation where someone might be riling up his anger, when confronted with a man, he's not going to, or he may not react in the same way as he would if it was a female riling him up. So we've got to be careful, because sometimes we kind of allow the men to not accept or take responsibility for their own behaviour. Because if it was a man that was riling them up, they would probably think twice, start throwing their hands around.
No, it's true.
See what I'm saying?
But what we must be aware of, as Sister's saying, is that it's both parties that are involved in the situation. So when we're making reference to these things here, it's important to look at both sides, that imbalance that's taking place.
True.
So, sis,
True. Anyway,
so,
I just
sis,
wanted to say that I agree with what the sister was saying, so I'll continue to listen.
okay,
yeah?
enough respect.
Thank you, sis.
Bless
Thanks
up.
for calling.
All of you.
Yeah, man. So the thing is, about in your case, you're well prepared, isn't it?
I mean, what's a preparation? How can you prepare for something you don't? It is.
Yes.
But then again, there's certain things you can't necessarily be prepared for. However, I'm going to give an example. My mother is a person who does not condone bad behavior from nobody, no, even if you're older than her. And I remember a male actually putting their hands on my mother, and the way she reacted is I know how I should react. She never took it, and she never went, oh, I provoked him. She struck back immediately to the point where he had to end up running. So
she didn't provoke him.
No, she didn't.
Exactly.
I was there.
But
I was there. But you know,
hold it for a moment. This is the problem that I always hear. I'm not being disrespectful, but I hear with females. Females always look to males and say a man is the one that's causing the problem, and never take a look at themselves. And man is always taking responsibility. And I understand that's the normal approach. However, I think we should always look at these things from both sides. And as the elephant and the story my daughter was talking about, we're just looking at one little part here, and we're expanding it, and then we don't even get a chance to add the other little part in, which is the other side of the story. Because the man, your mum may not in that scenario have provoked the man, and the man may have done what he's doing unjustly. But however, I'm not saying nothing just, I'm just explaining stuff here. Let's say your mum did harass the man. What, is he in the right? Is he not? No, hold on a second. Because if it was a man, all of a sudden he's in the right. But it's a woman, all of a sudden he's not in the right. But you are both humans and both taking liberties.
Can I say?
You understand? How can you take liberties and all of a sudden not be justified?
No, but can I say there's scenarios when... Let me finish, man. Can I say there is... I'm not saying there's a right and there's a wrong, because there's many ways you have to look at it. Because you have to be balanced in how you assess a situation. Not because a woman means that I should not be held accountable for what I did. I should be held accountable for what I did, but not what the other person did, because that's their reaction. And there's many scenarios that happened where one of them could have easily walked off and go cool off somewhere, and they both chose not to. So if they're both choosing to stay in the toxic situation of arguing, going back and forth, that's an issue. Leave the house until you've calmed down, then come back and deal with the situation. You don't continue in a toxic place.
That's right.
So it's easy to say all that stuff there, but it's very true. Step forward, but it's easy to say that. Step forward. However, if you are raised like most black men are, Caribbean, which is not to raise your hand upon a woman. We are raised by a mother, and then we are taught how to look after women. You have that, because I'm a man, you're a woman, so you're in a different place. So when I was at secondary school, women know this. They know, and how far are you going to allow a woman to do certain things to you? So hold on a second, because you're not on the mic.
Okay.
I'm not going to say what you're saying, but because you're talking in the air. So, from my experience here, one time here, brother, I was in geography in my 4th year of secondary school, and I'm sitting down in the middle of the classroom there. One sister, beautiful woman, she's my age, because we're in the same class. So she already know my temperament, and I'm not involved in these things here. So what did this girl choose to go and do? She asked me for something, I said no. What did she choose to go do? Take her umbrella and start licking me in my head. So because of the way I'm raised up, I'm ignoring the licking in the head, you know, because I know the next stage I'm going to. So I'm saying, no, leave me. And then she's carrying licking and she's licking me in my head repetitively. So I'm there trying my best, because the way my upbringing is. What, you think my mum taught me to be abused? You think my mum raised me, who's a woman, to be abused by a woman? So this woman licking me in my head constantly. Now we've gone past the stage of whatever you want to call it. So now I've gotten really upset. So I've taken her, I've got up, and that surprised her, because she thought I wasn't going to respond. I've got up, I've taken the umbrella, And it's a little small one, not a big one, you know, a little small little thing. And I lick her in the head. And I put the thing down, I sat back down. You think that girl touched me again? Don't take liberties.
Yeah, but I never...
No, but this is what, because the way we talk, we blame men for their response to a scenario because we have strength and power.
Yeah.
And that is incorrect because there are two involved in this thing here. And if the woman knows the power of the man, why keep prodding him?
Yeah, but at the same time.
Yeah, but I did mention that earlier, that some people would purposefully do that. It's about being, as females, we need to be, some females, they were not taught to not place their hands on men.
I think that's the majority.
I've witnessed them saying, but you're not supposed to hit me, I'm a female, but they hit. Because they use that as an excuse to become abusive, because it's not just men that are abusive. There's men and women who literally physically and emotionally abuse men, but they don't report it because you're a man, no woman can abuse you. Because I was doing that research when I was studying sociology. I was very shocked at the percentage of men that were actually abused by their women. They go to and they go to the police and they laugh in their face and say, you ain't abused, you're a woman. And they go home and then they're subject to the same behavior. But if it was a woman that did that, the response would be different. So as parents, guardians, adults out there, we need to be able to teach not just our boys not to hit women, but our females not to provoke and hit men, not to become abusive, because we use that as an excuse. I'm female, so I use that as an excuse to become abusive. It's about the mentality, as I say, of the person, because I was raised not to place my hands on someone.
That's it.
As a female, I'm also never place their hands on someone.
It don't matter.
However, if it comes to the situation where I have to defend myself, then that is fine. But you don't purposefully, of course, but you don't purposefully pick yourself up and provoke a person because you know they're not going to place their hands on you.
Well, put it this way, if a woman did that to me...
Which one?
Provoked me, that hit me and pushed me, I still, as you said, I just walk out, mate.
Yeah.
So some people, because I've seen that scenario where
I might grab her up and say, yo, what are you doing? And put her down again.
Because sometimes, you see, the funny thing about force meeting force, sometimes a person's not aware of the discomfort they're putting upon a person because they're only expressing the word from their own self. So as they do what they do, and they think that's just a natural response and that's okay for that. But you have to make this clear. And sometimes words ain't enough. You say, don't do that. And let's keep on doing it. Don't do that. Months can pass. Don't do that. And then when the man responds to the situation, he's blamed for his response. But the person who's usually hearing this, and I will say, let's say women as an example, but as an example, they're not looking to say, so what did you do for the last 10 months? How was your relationship over the last 2 years? How was you responding when he's, as you're saying, about stress, working full time? Okay, so when he come home from work and he's quiet and he looks like he's under pressure, what did you do? Did you give him a shoulder massage? Probably not. Did you bring him a food and give him some sweet, what a woman's supposed to? Because I say to my daughters the same thing. When a man's like in a certain mode, you got to know your power. Exactly. You have more power than you realize. You're not using it. Man, listen to the man. There's so much power in listening. Sometimes the man just wants you to sit down, he just wants to say what he's saying. You don't have to tell him how to live his life. He just wants to express it. You care. You listen, therefore you cared. And you didn't tell him what to do. You sometimes want, and that's just females as well.
So what does Tai Chi say about a situation like that? If someone keep doing that to you?
No, Tai Chi's talking about polarity and balance. So balancing the forces. So that means scenario would be unique upon itself. The scenario would be unique upon itself. Because we're talking about polarity, the law of polarity. When one thing goes wrong one way, try to bring it back the other way to bring it to the middle. Yeah. So we're talking about balancing the forces here. So Tai Chi, ultimately, whatever description you're going to hear, a person explaining the formula, which is polarity. So somebody is pushing you around for months and months and months. You're going into you're going out of balance. Now you have to find a way to bring yourself back into balance. It may not be force.
You're live on Genesis.
Yes, Eru. I ring back to contribute to your discussion quickly. Yeah, man. I like the sister in there. She sounds quite, she sounds quite balanced. She sees it from both sides. That's very good. You know what I mean? For her, she sounds like a younger sister as well. So that's very good. But,
sounds young, but she's not.
I am very young. Thank you very much.
But that's probably, she sounds like she's coming from, her accent sounds like it's Jamaican, so as well, that's a different culture. as well. So probably, I think they're more mature, a lot more mature, the children, you know, growing up over there. My personal experience there. But this when I was listening to you, this whole patriarchal kind of thing is where, you know, a lot of things you see these kind of romantic things on TV where women are supposed to act this way, and you know you see them slapping a man in the face and he don't do nothing. All these things are embedded in you from an early age. Like this is the way you're supposed to act. But I remember, you know, I think women as well, they're smart. I mean, in a relationship, I can remember that a woman will really ask, you know, she really, when you watch them things on TV and you see the woman slapping a man, I said, you're watching it and with your woman, and she said, what will you do? I said, I'll slap her back. So they already know.
Really? You wouldn't?
So they already kind of know the person you are. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying I'm going to slap you. I'm not going to be this, this is a romantic thing. Slap you, and I'm not going to slap you back. I'm not saying, because I know if I slap you, I might lick your head off.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I'm not,
you can't slap. You know, slapping somebody.
But they're already trying to test. They're already trying to suss you out from an early time. And going back, I remember my ex-girl. She, you know, afterwards I learned that she was quite a psychological issue, because she got me arrested from my own house, right? You know, one of them innocent looking, but I wouldn't mouth. But and don't forget as well, right? Society sees the black man, we're already seen as more vicious and more aggressive.
That's right.
So when they use this, when women do use that to advantage, they've got to be careful that when the police come and all that, they're not treating you as the same as the Wazungu, the white man. They're already restraining you, putting in handcuffs. We've seen it already. You know, and just a quick thing, yeah. This, you know, she grabbed, she phoned up the police and started saying, he's gonna kill me, and then put the phone down like an actor, you know. And then she's grabbing me from behind, like say someone stands behind you and grabs you around the waist and kind of holds your arms, right? And no, sorry, I was grabbing her round to kind of restrain her from going mad, yeah. You know, lashing out and everything like that, you know, like from behind, like just restraining her arms. And she's got these high heels on, yeah, and she's stamping on my face, trying to stamp on my foot with these shoes, yeah, and then trying to lash me with the telephone cord. Now, when the you see, this is what I'm saying, like, so she would call up the police, and it's killing me, and then put the phone down, and then she's normal. So it's like, we've seen it before where in America it's detrimental, because then they can come around and they've got guns drawn, you know, and they're shooting first. But in this instance, the police came and they're really like damsel in distress, you know, let me course up this man. So you had the good cop and bad cop. Anyway, cut a long story short, the girl got me arrested from my own house, yeah? And I said to the police, you think I'm leaving that? I said, you can arrest me, yeah? But you think I'm leaving her in my house? By the time I come back, everything will be mashed up.
That is a deep one, sorry. I never thought of that one there.
You understand? So in the end, right, she had to, I said, I'll come back. No, I'm not leaving her in the house, because, you know, I can see in her eyes that, boy, everything, you know. So, yeah, I just wanted to, you know, contribute that little story there, man. Yeah, the balance is there, but I think it's trained, and some of our sisters do take advantage of it, you know. So they've got to be careful that the response though of these people is they've often called the police for help and end up either their family being killed or the man being like injured for life or something like that, you know.
For real.
So
nice one.
So give thanks.
Respect.
Thanks.
Bless up.
And that message there goes out to the younger men in society, the young ones who are 16, 17, 18, early 20s, who haven't had enough experience out there in the world with women and the possibilities, and women with men with the possibilities. I know we both say, step forward. That takes time to develop. Before you have the ability to step forward from when you're in a scenario like that, you have to go through all the other rough stuff first. And that is the challenge, how to survive
thing is, we got to remember as well, men got to remember that we're a stronger vessel, man.
Naturally. But that's not a good enough excuse.
I know, but at the same time, remember, if you was to hit a woman out of self-defense or anger, you would knock her spark out.
Of course.
Break her jaws.
Of course.
You know what I mean? Because imagine if I just lost it and you hit me, and I just go whack.
Yeah.
I'm not going to think that you're a woman.
Yeah.
So we got to be really careful. End up,
Women have to
Balance,
be
man. It's a
careful.
balance.
It is both sides.
Yeah,
That's
it's
what-
a balance. We need to stop saying men need to do this.
Yeah,
and women.
man,
It's
thank
a
you.
balance. We both need to,
Yeah,
to
man.
ensure the situation never gets
That's right.
to that place in the first place. So we
Yeah,
need to
man.
stop saying as a man we need to be careful, but as a woman we need to be
Don't
aware
step
of
off
what
the
we
lion's
do
mouth.
also.
Yeah, but I mean,
Don't put
We
your hand
need
in the
to be-
lion's mouth, you know.
Yeah.
Don't put your hand in the lion's mouth.
We as women also need to be aware of not just our strength, but how we can behave in certain situations, because we do get very emotional and we can throw things out of proportion. Because I have done it, not violence, but you make something more than actual is. But as men and women, we both need to be aware that that is a possibility that it goes there. So we both ensure it does not go there.
Yeah, man.
But the type of woman nowadays,
But it's becoming normal anyways, because if
Some
you look at the
rough-
videos that they put
Yeah, I've
out,
seen them.
it's a woman being violent against a man, and everyone's like, ha 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 ha, he should get it, but the
Yeah.
man doesn't react. And then there's another one where he will push her, and it's like, ah ha ha ha, oh, it's fine. They are normalizing abuse from both sex, which is not right.
Well-
And this is where the education of our children comes in.
yeah, but what you got to realise, say in some countries, the woman is just as tough as the man.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And you can see the look.
I remember them
You see
Nigerian
them,
woman.
you see them with them big.
What are the second?
Listen, man, them trunks, I tell you.
Sorry, don't make me
Listen,
laugh.
you think say that the woman's going to be a weak vessel. There's some women out there
Yeah.
tough as geezers.
I know.
Some especially in Jamaica, some of them have some
Yeah,
big
yeah.
scar across their face.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
turn up,
yeah.
with them turn up them
Yeah.
prowl over.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even. I said to myself, that's not a woman. But
she's not expressing
She
what
has
we
to
know
meet
feminine
the day,
energy
though.
is.
Yeah, but she has to meet the day.
Yeah,
The
she
man
has
is
to.
rough. The women get rough too.
Yeah.
Fist for fist, and they'll roll on the floor too, mate.
Yeah, man.
You understand? So don't think them as a weak vessel.
No, they're not.
Some of them want. I see enough of them on DVD, blood up, where they chop up each other. Man and woman in a relationship,
I know.
chopping up each other, stand out there in the middle of the road with the woman draped. Sorry, the woman draped the woman up by.
Beat the man.
Yeah, and she was stabbing him up. I'm
No, they're
thinking,
a little bit more vicious.
is that a woman or what? Is
No,
that a
women
man?
are a little bit more vicious from what I've seen. I remember when I was younger, and I seen in Stockholm a few fights that were man fighting, but the ones I saw with girls, nah, they were
Vicious.
totally different. Because they're looking to break bottle
Yeah, man.
and slash face.
Acid.
Emotion.
Yeah, and men don't
Emotion
really
is
look to.
stronger.
Man is looking to do one single punch if he's
Done.
Yeah, he's just looking to do one hit, move on.
No, throw acid in
Yeah,
his
he's not
face.
looking. Yeah,
Acid and
but
all that.
women, when they get to that level of
Anger.
Yeah,
yeah,
vicious.
man, nah, I've seen it.
Vicious. Yeah,
And
proper
yeah.
vicious. You know?
Yeah, and I think this is something that's inside as well, because of the emotional thing and a man being more logical. A man knowing, okay, it makes me stand there for 5 minutes, 2 minutes. Right, I want to do this thing really quickly. But a woman not thinking logically. She's just thinking, right, I want to tear this person
brawl,
open.
she's
Yeah,
brawling,
she wants to tear open. And this is something natural, innate in, which needs to be cultivated and developed over time. And this is the thing. Women have that part of them which isn't really cultivated. And then they get into situations with other people, male or female, and they've never really experienced how to manifest, to look. So I say that because in martial arts, you're going to get experiences, feelings, sensations that not normal you will experience in a normal situation. Then you learn how to develop it. So I was watching a Facebook clip of one youth with a teacher, and the teacher was on one knee, and the child was like 7, 8, and the child would run up to the teacher, and I think the top teacher must have said, "Okay, run up to me, attack me, and hit my back." So the child ran up and did a little pat. Teacher said, "No, do that again." And then he kept on doing it. This is a couple of minutes, and the teacher stopped and said to him, "I know you're afraid to bring out that which is inside of you. You're afraid to unleash. But if you don't unleash it, how are you going to learn to control it? You need to learn how to unleash that which is inside of you. The fear, the anger, the frustration. Learn to harness it and develop it properly." Right. In most cases, women are not doing that because they're not really into a martial art. And the only time they really get an opportunity to practice it is when they're confronted with the situation. Yeah, and therefore it can cause a lot of imbalance. Men are more likely to have trained and developed, so therefore the responsibility would lie mainly on the person who has more experience, which is the man. And so therefore I can understand why they say, yeah, the man needs to do this and the man needs to do that. But the woman, the parent, has the responsibility for their child, the female, to develop certain abilities so they don't. And being parents, we should know.
But women, I think, had it hard because she has to deal with a man. And who's to know before a man developed a little respect? He probably used to kick 9 bells out of him.
That's not-
You know what I mean? Back in the day, you know what I mean? And They are very.
Yes.
I tell you
No,
what.
it's true.
Yeah, you
No,
know
it's
what
true.
I mean.
No.
And that species, they're a strong species.
No, it's true because I remember elders telling me, an elder from Barbados, Elder Yasmin, she used to tell me back in the 40s and 50s, before that time, women, and we know this anyway, I'm just giving one person example, women were the property of men.
Yeah,
And that was the problem.
Yeah.
Men believed, because of the Bible, that they own a woman and they
That's
could
right.
do what they will.
That's right.
And the same with Muslims. They have this idea that they own a woman and they can do as they will. And as a result, they can beat, hit, and
even
maim,
kill.
cut off, take off whatever part of their body that need to cut off.
What?
You understand? All them madness this up. And that's not a balance. That's not balanced. So then, if our perception is from that way there, from old Christian thinking or Muslim thinking,
That's right. We're in trouble.
then we got problems.
Yeah, we're in trouble.
No. Yeah, we need to find a way to exercise that out.
As a sister said, balance. Both of us doing things together, ruling equally. We did all of this back in Kemet.
Yeah, man.
Because Kemet, Ethiopia.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, as females, we don't necessarily need to react with force to take control of a situation, and that's something. And that's something I never necessarily knew. That's something I didn't know growing up. I always reacted with force because
Yeah,
that's
you
what I
don't
knew. I
need
saw
to.
my mother with force.
why you're a woman.
I saw
You don't even
I
need
saw
force.
my aunties with force. I saw every female with force. So we weren't necessarily. I wasn't necessarily taught to be able to take control of a situation without using force.
That's right. Use your.
Because as much as force I want to use, the man force is going to always be better,
Yeah.
higher than mine.
That's right.
So
Yeah,
clearly I wasn't supposed to meant to use
That's
force.
right.
So as women, as mothers, we need to be able to teach our children how, as females,
How to deal with
these
going to
situations
man's
without
side.
using force. Because
Yes.
a man can be angry,
Yeah,
and as a female, you can bring him down right down
Like
within
a
a few
baby.
seconds.
Yeah,
Within a few
yeah.
seconds, it's because we're always using force,
That's
and we
right.
may think we're not, but our voice is forceful.
Yeah.
Mm.
And that causes a man to get his back up.
Yeah.
When a man hears a woman shouting up his head like it's a man chatting up his head. And whenever that is really in the beginning difficult for a man to
But you
balance
hear a
that.
woman's little voice, you could be angry as whatever it
It's
is.
soothing.
Never mind, darling.
Yeah.
From she was
No,
like,
hold on a
darling.
second there. That just changes the whole
whole
reality.
scenario, man.
That there in that
Yeah,
moment.
your mum is-
Oh no, I can't be like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
your mum did it. Your mum said,
Yeah.
never. When you hit your head or somebody beat you, never mind.
Yeah.
See those words?
Yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah.
Coming from her?
Okay.
It's so
a man
soothing.
requires from a woman to be nurtured above all things.
That's right.
Because they come out from a woman, a man, and the first person to nurture him was a woman. There's a different respect going on here. But if a partner now of a man, she naturally nurtures in a situation where she knows it can escalate, go over there. Then
That's
she
right.
uses her intelligence, her emotional intelligence. Said, okay then, well let me say so and so like this and so like that. Change the whole world.
But you heard about Pianki. Pianki was
Yeah,
like that.
Pianki, yeah.
Pianki, you know what he did? He was the one that studied
21st.
art of
Hold
war
on, is it 21st
dynasty.
or 18th dynasty?
No, it was the
25th.
25th.
I
Yeah,
think it's the 25th.
the last one. The
yeah,
last
yeah,
one.
the last dynasty.
The last
yeah,
dynasty,
25th.
Ethiopian.
Yeah,
Right.
came back
Right.
with the final walk in the sun.
That fine. You get
John Edward Clark. Oh no, just bring John Edward Clark back
That
in.
done the thing, bro.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
this king, final dance in the sun.
Yeah, man.
Right. You know what he did? He came up with the art of war where he didn't have to strike no one or kill no one. He just surrendered. And his wife, this Asian guy came up. This Asian group came up and wants to steal his land. So he gave them option. He said, "Listen, you surrender, I'm gonna give you favourable options." Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he refused. You see, when he refused, now Panky come down with his wrath, and the man had to run to his wife and beg his wife, please do. Go and ask, just please, I made a mistake, I should have surrendered. Please talk to your husband. And that time he's not taking no prisoners, boss.
He said he's ready started.
He's ready to wipe out thing now, because you reject. And you know what the wife had to do? She looked at him and she said, I can imagine what she did to him,
You give it some
She
sweet
looked
talk.
at him and she said,
Oh, man.
Pianki.
Yeah.
Do.
Yeah.
Blow him, Pianki.
Yeah.
And the wrath of Pianki just came down and down.
The power of a woman, I felt it,
Wow,
man. I felt it.
man.
But I should say, as females, because we're so subjected to force, it does take a lot of willpower and a lot of practice to be able to get to that stage, because I'm still learning how to deal with the situation without using force, and it's very difficult because immediately you just want to go, no, but I didn't. But you don't have to.
Don't have to
react
at all,
in that.
bro.
But it's very difficult because we're not being taught that from a young age.
That's right.
So I would say it doesn't matter how old you may want to be. You think you may want to be 50 years old. There's always time to transform that masculine energy, because it's a masculine energy within you, and bring it, make it more feminine. I would say to have a balance in it, because two men being in a relationship, that's too much. That's too much. That's too much testosterone.
Two positive forces
cancel out each other.
Yeah.
Exactly. So as females, we need to enter into a relationship with
We're not
a feminine
talking about
energy.
surrender here, are we?
No, it's nothing about surrendering.
We're talking about submission.
No one says submission, because I'm not a submissive person.
Okay.
But nonetheless, I am still
Talking about respect.
learning and trying how to bring out more of my feminine side, as opposed to being so masculine, because that's what I've known.
That's right.
Seeing women in all that masculine position. The only person I would say who I've never seen in that masculine position was my auntie. She was the only one.
Yeah, rebel.
And pardon?
She was a rebel, was she?
No, she was very. She carried herself in a different way to other females that I have known. She was so feminine that it was almost unusual, because we're so used to seeing our parents, our mother, whether it's a single, especially if she's a single mother, take on the role of a man. So she developed that masculine side, and it's almost as if her feminine side became very low.
Really?
They focus mainly on the masculine side type of thing. So that's a lot of women that I have seen. So
let's talk about that. Let's talk quickly before we finish. What about this side of this transgender, where women now beginning to feel that they're men and start to grow beard too? I've seen them with beard.
Naya Bingi.
I don't even want to.
Naya Bingi is supposed to be represented with facial hair as well.
Yeah, but the women them now realize, saying to themselves that they're in the wrong body. And this idea of
a lot of it is not
making a mistake.
A lot of it is not a lot of it, to me, I would say, is not understanding the energy that they possess.
Yeah.
It's not understanding, because there's men who are very feminine, but they can be taught, because you're so feminine, you have to be gay. No, they just have that feminine energy, and they need to be able to understand it. It's the energy that they don't understand, I would say, because one moment, I had a lot more masculine energy than I did, and people were telling me I was lesbian because I was masculine, but because I knew I wasn't, and because I knew why I had a lot of masculine energy, no one could really sway me. So it's not understanding the energy that they put in, feeling more feminine, why they feel more masculine. They need to be able to understand that to deal with that.
That's what you mean.
So there is a bit of yin and yang, and a bit of yang and yin.
Yeah, too much yin.
That's all I say.
But the thing about it is the lesbian thing, or the man thing, the attraction. And these people really believe that they're men. They really actually believe. I've seen them in marriages and all that.
Yeah, and a lot of the times it's not even that. It's a misunderstanding of the energy. A lot of the time it's forced onto children that they are a certain way. Just because a young boy behave feminine, that mean that they go, oh, that mean he must be gay, must be he is a woman sucking a man's body.
Accept your own and be yourself. Genesis.
We've come to the end of our show.
Yes,
it was beautiful. Nice to have the sisters back in the house again. And we're going to be saying goodbyes. I've got to go Peckham anyway before a certain time. I'm late anyway. I would have normally carry on until 2, but I can't do today, folks. Maybe tomorrow, I don't know. So I want to thank Sahu and
oh my God, Sekamtat.
Yeah, see, don't worry, I'll get it. When I get it, I ain't gonna forget it, Trust me.
Sekamtat, yes. Once it go in, it's not going out.
Not going out nowhere, you know what I mean? So, okay, well, thank you, Sekamtat, and plus...
He's almost there now.
Yeah, see what I'm saying? Exactly. It's 2 beautiful daughters of yours there, growing up nicely. It's always nice to see them in the house. And thank them for partaking. So, Brother Sahu, you want to say your farewells?
So I hope that we got some clarity out there in the world in relation to history, martial arts, history of Tai Chi, and also understanding how to address the emotions that develop, because we did start off talking about fear, and we really ended up talking about fear, because really those two, the conversation we just was referring to with male and female, again we're talking about fear, and we're looking at control and loss of control. So I hope that we was able to open up one's awareness, so then as a result we can make different choices in the future. We can be mindful that when we're in a position of power, and we see that the other person is under duress, we can use our insight to create a more beneficial outcome, and not stimulate it further, and not push it and aggravate and cause and keep on prodding and prodding. Be mindful when we're engaging with others of how they're feeling, what they're perceiving, what they're experiencing out in the world, and as a result we'll end up experiencing a more peaceful, balanced life.
So what about the addresses and all that, phone number for those who are interested to...
Okay, so if you can go to the website, which is taichifuture.com. We're on the Facebook, again, Tai Chi Future, and we're also on YouTube for Tai Chi Future TV.
Nice one. And the place where you're doing practice?
Okay, yes, and we're down in Thornheath on a Monday, 7 o'clock. We also do...
The leisure centre.
Okay, and also down there on a Wednesday at 7 o'clock, Chi Combat, and that's at Thornheath Leisure Centre. So we do the Chi Combat at 6 o'clock to 8. 6 o'clock is for children that are 7, 8, from 5 years old to 10, and then the ones over that are like from 10 to adults. That's from 8 o'clock, and that's at Thornheath Leisure Centre. On a Tuesday, we are down, the Chi Combat is down South Nord. On the Thursday, it's in Addiscombe, and Chi Combat at 7 o'clock. Oasis Academy in Addiscombe, that's 7 o'clock. That's from 7, no, it's from 6 to 8. It's still 6 to 8 because it's split between 2 for the younger ones and for the older ones. On a Saturday, there is also Chi Combat, which I am unable to attend because I'm teaching Tai Chi also. So then the Chi Combat down in Oasis Academy, Addiscombe, is from 12 o'clock to about 2. And myself, I'm teaching on Saturday at 9:30 down Streatham, First Down Project. And that's like a run through of the classes during the week, between the children's class and the adults class. Just briefly, between the two, Tai Chi is seen as a more advanced form of practice because it's a bit more challenging. So usually when they're teaching martial arts initially, they may teach a form of mixed martial art for a child because of all the running up and down, because they need to release energy. Tai Chi is a little bit more calmer, and it may not be appropriate for a child initially. If a child can settle in Tai Chi initially, that is fantastic. Then they've already gone to the higher level of martial art practice and understanding. But most time, they need to start with a mixed martial art form first, and then as a higher form, they evolve into a Tai Chi, an internal. Because mixed martial art is an external art. Kicking, punching, grappling, take them down, and talking about how you interact with the world around you. Tai Chi is talking about how you interact with the world internally, how your internal world affects the world outside of you.
Okay. So, all said and done and dusted, and say goodbyes.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
I don't know if anyone heard of your mouth covering you there. Goodbye.
Yeah, so you saying goodbye?
She didn't even say hello.
Yeah, exactly.
I was going to say goodbye. You said hello, so.
Yeah.
Thank you, Genesis family, for having us today. It's been good for the interactions. I would say we're here in another 2 weeks. We want to thank you for your contribution and for your listening ear. Second Set is out.
Nice one. We'll be seeing you again in 2 weeks' time. Well, there's only one thing left for me to say, and this is what I always say, and that is, this is Haru saying, I